It's that time of the week again. Back for the Gazette Extra's Prep Spotlight here. Week 5 of the football season is upon us. I'm Gazette Sports Editor Eric Schmoldt alongside sports reporter John Barry here. And John, we're here at Monterey Stadium where we could have our first area team clinch a playoff berth already, Week 5, in Janesville Craig hosting Madison La Follette here on Friday night.
Yes, and while this bee stings me in the ear, it's a great week for the Cougars, a chance, like you said, to punch their postseason playoff ticket for the first time in 6 years, and not an easy test with La Follette, but a lot of that's going to hinge on La Follette's good kid being able to play, and if he can't go, certainly a big advantage for the Cougars.
When you start thinking about this, the time of year we start thinking about playoffs. Maybe it's a little early, but now that we got teams that can get themselves eligible or clinch their spot, what do you think about when you think of a football team that is playoff bound, a playoff caliber football team?
Well, I think more than anything, it's consistency. It's a team that's through the year, through 9 games. Yeah, they may have stumbled with a loss or two, but they maintain consistency enough where they get through the season with enough wins to get in, and there's a reason behind that, and that's because they've been solid on both sides of the ball. They've maybe had some breaks go their way that maybe been the difference between a win or a loss, and more than anything, they put a good product on the field that puts them in a position to win every Friday.
You talked about those plays, and I'd say we have half a dozen teams that look really solid as a playoff caliber team. Obviously, there's plenty of games left and teams that could get themselves in this mix. But when I look at these teams, these are teams that have found ways to win those close games late. And I guess we could just run through the list real quick. Maybe start with Edgerton. Ricky Williams was out week 2, and we kind of wondered exactly what would happen. Well, now we're through week 4. He's number 3 in the state in rushing, and he missed a game, and he's number 1 in yards per game. And that was a team that found a way to win in week 1. That one won't factor in the playoffs, but a team that found a way to win, they got him a late fourth quarter touchdown.
Right, and again, it goes back to the Lodi game, which obviously they lost, and Ricky didn't play. And again, not saying they would have won that game, but let's face it, Ricky Williams is a special talent, and every time he plays, Edgerton's got a chance to win the game, and certainly, he put up huge numbers last week against a Turner program that's down, so, take that with a grain of salt. But still, Ricky's Ricky, and he's picked up where he left off last season, and, don't be surprised that by the end of the regular season, he leads the state in rushing again, and that's missing a game, so that's even more impressive.
It really is. Also in the Rock Valley, a team we haven't talked about a ton, but Broadhead Judah, which might be one of the best teams in the area in terms of having a chance to go pretty far in the playoffs. And they haven't had a lot of huge tests yet, but back in week 2 in a non-conference kind of Rock Valley rivalry match against Evansville, they found a way to win with a late Hail Mary.
Well, in anything, that's just it. That's why those two teams scheduled a non-conference game, even though they're in the same conference. Evansville, Albany, obviously in the north, Broadhead Judah in the south, and didn't get a chance to play each other. So the athletic directors, Jim Matthias, who's now the principal, was the former athletic director, got together with Brian Kishore and said, hey, look, this rivalry is too good to not be playing, even though it doesn't count as a conference game. So they've kept up that tradition. I think they're going to play 1 or 2 more years and then hope that they can meet in the regular season as a conference game that counts. But, anytime a rivalry game, you get those two teams together, it's going to be close, and it was. And Broadhead Judah, the team that I thought coming into the year had the best chance of going the furthest in the playoffs, now 4-0 because of a Hail Mary pass that got them past Evansville, Albany.
Sure. In the Lakes, I got a chance to see Elkhorn last week. They go to Delavan Darien on their homecoming and found a way to answer a long drive out of halftime by the Comets with a 20-play drive. It was kind of crazy. All of a sudden, we were 2 possessions into the second half, and there were about 9 minutes left. And just again, they've caught maybe a break with the weather. Obviously, the rain. I don't think anybody will mince words with that, even the Elks. But you find a way to get it done on the road again in a pretty hostile atmosphere. Bigfoot last week goes to Jefferson, and they looked like they were dead to rights, and they somehow find a way.
Credit to Greg Enns. You take over a program that's been so good for so long, and you expect them to not fall, but to certainly not live up to where they've been the last few years. And they go into Jefferson, they get down 21-7. They don't have the studs they've had in years past, and yet they still find a way to come out there with a win and keep what is just an amazing winning streak. I don't care any sport you're talking about. They've won 48 straight conference games. That's incredible. It's 49 now with last week's win. That's, like I say, tip your hat off to them. Greg Enns has got those kids playing hard, and you know, the streak keeps going.
What do you think of Jefferson going to Evansville, Albany this week? You know, I think Jefferson's going to be a little angry about how that way the game ended. They went for 2 in overtime, and the wet conditions kind of led to a slip-up. Now they go to Evansville, Albany, which I think has looked like a solid team here over the last few weeks after a stumble out of the gates.
Well, and like you say, we've reached the halfway point. Wins are critical. I mean, if you're trying to get in the playoffs, which those two teams or programs have both been fixtures in the playoffs, you got to win. I mean, you got to pick up wins. You can't trade wins and losses, because then you end up at that 500 mark or maybe one game below, and that doesn't get you in the playoffs. So a pivotal game for both schools. Do you think Jefferson's going to come in with a little bit of a letdown after that tough loss to Bigfoot? I wouldn't hope so, but you just never know. I mean, these are 16, 17, 18-year-old kids. You don't know how they react to adversity, and sometimes kids will step it up, and other times, you know, they don't react so well. So a big game. Evansville, Albany, a team that, like you said, they played well in 2 games, and then other times they don't look so hot. So we'll see which team shows up Friday night, but I'm sure Coach Gross' team will have that. He'll have those boys ready to play.
Another team that looks solid for the playoffs, could clinch at least eligibility to the playoffs with a win this week, is Milton. They host Fort Atkinson in a rivalry,
Sure.
Badger South rivalry, and they've started 2-0. I saw them 2 weeks ago. Stop Madison Edgewood a couple times late in the fourth quarter. Again, a team that finds a way to get it done in the fourth quarter with their toughness. I feel like that's a playoff team. I don't know. Do you think they get eligible this week against a Fort Atkinson team that doesn't have James Noctegal anymore?
Well, and Fort Atkinson coming off I'm sure a less than stellar performance and a loss to Stoughton. So again, another team that's down, maybe a letdown possibility. Melton plays very well defensively. Russ O'Leary does a fantastic job getting those kids ready to play. I think the offense has been a little bit behind. They did explode a little bit last Friday against Monroe in the second half, but you put Westrick at quarterback, and that's going to happen now and then. He's going to get loose, and that's what happened. But, you know, the Melton defense, other than the Wanakee game, which got away from them late. I mean, they were in that game for the most part. It got away late. But Melton, because of their defense, is going to allow them opportunities to win games, and I'm sure that's what they're hoping for, is to create a couple of turnovers, win the field position battle, and come out of Friday night with a win, and like a lot of teams in the area, move one step closer to a pivotal playoff berth.
This will be the big matchup here in town in Janesville, and it could be a clincher. If you get to 5 wins in the Big 8, you're in. I don't know if we saw Craig being 4-0 at this stage, but kind of similar to how they played last year. They've gotten some shootouts like they did with the East, or in Week 3 against Verona. Last year they didn't find a way to win those games. This year they have. Against Verona, they were able to go down and get a last, in the final 10 seconds they get a field goal. Against East, it was a back and forth game until they were able to get a couple of pick sixes on defense to really kind of, those plays weren't there maybe when they needed them last year in those shootout type of games, and this year they've been able to win those games.
Well, I think coming in the year, you and I had talked about, we felt Craig 3-1 at worst, 4-0 at best, and here they sit 4-0 against La Folla team, got their first loss last week against Middleton, and also lost Copus, the running back, who, I feel is as good a running back in the conference as there is, along with Noah Diaz from Sun Prairie. So if he can't play, certainly a big advantage for Craig, because I got to believe Craig will put 8-9 guys in the box and make La Folla throw the ball, and I'm not sure they're ready to do that, or if they're capable of doing that, but we'll find out. But for the Cougars, offensively, I don't think you change anything. They've found a way to utilize a lot of different weapons between Moore and Huber and Wee May and Shane Ellis, and I would look for that to continue Friday night, and they get that win. You don't want to celebrate, but at least you know your future and what lies ahead, and that's a postseason berth for the first time in 6 years.
I was going to say, at what point do you stop thinking, okay, we got to get ourselves into the playoffs, and start thinking about maybe something more? I suppose first you got to get there, and then you go from there.
And their schedule is really tough. I mean, you still got Sun Prairie left, you still got Middleton left, you got a West team that's better than I think people thought they were going to be, and a Memorial team that's kind of a wild card, because the Spartans are capable with their weapons of putting points on the board, and Craig's defense has been a little bit shaky at times against the pass. So, a lot of factors come into it, but, with this game, Week 5, a chance to go 5-0 and clinch a berth, I can guarantee you all the eggs are in one basket for this week, and they're not thinking ahead to Sun Prairie next Friday.
A good senior group, too. That's kind of what helps you win some fourth quarter games, and that's why I think maybe they come in here knowing that they can get to 5-0. I think they'll be hungry here at home to get a win, and I think they get it done.
I think you're right, and I think La Folla, if they're without their good kid, again, you know, that takes a lot away, and all of a sudden kids are thrust into roles that they're not accustomed to. And when that happened last Friday against Middleton, they didn't respond very well, and Middleton just basically shut them down after the first quarter. And yeah, Middleton's a good team. They're in first place, but adversity, sometimes it's how you handle it, and Lancers didn't handle it too well last Friday, and if they don't have them this week, for Craig's sake, you know, we'll hope they don't handle it well again this Friday.
Yeah, we don't know for sure if Khalil Kopis will play this week. He was on the crutches on the sideline last week, and I think they still call him questionable, which is kind of interesting.
Yep.
We'll see. It'll be here Friday night, 7 o'clock, down here at Monterey. Pack these stands behind us. It'll be fun.
It should be a great Friday night, everybody.
Have a good week. We'll see you in week 6.